One of the issues we have with assisted dying is that where this is rolled out, it is essentially secret, and it is very difficult to know if abuses are happening. So where people are being, the thing we fear, we think people are being coerced into death who wouldn't otherwise have sought it. So one of the things that we can tell is how many women and men are being given assisted death overseas. But we can also look at what's happening here in the UK. And I wanted to know if this was a real risk that, people might be coerced in domestic abuse situations into death, which was provided by the state, which would put the state in this horrible position of delivering domestic homicide. So what I've looked at is mercy killings. Which
domestic homicide, Fiona? That's a bit strong, isn't it?
Yeah, well, shall I tell you why?
Go on.
So we have homicides here which are called mercy killings, and these generally get a bit more leniency in the courts because I think probably people, if you've read them in the news, will think they are wanted, hastened deaths of people who were sort of ill anyway and nearing death. But what I found is that actually over 100 mercy killing cases, these are overwhelmingly really terrible, violent domestic homicides of women by men. The women weren't terminally ill in most cases. They weren't asking to die. And so we've actually got this very permissive culture that's permeated.
Hold on. Let's look at, you say you studied some of the stats here. What percentage of people who are passed for assisted dying are women, and what percentage are men around the world?
So it's a really good question. So where it is just on terminal illness, it's mostly men who seek it. Right. And where it's on psychiatric conditions or conditions like frailty or anorexia, which do fit under assisted dying for terminal illness in the countries which only have that, like Kim Ledwetter's.
Anorexia? Are you sure that's going to be allowable in this country?
So anorexia is within the scope of terminal illness in pretty much all of the countries where this has been rolled out with terminal illness.
And so what percentage are women versus men in assisted dying cases?
So in assisted dying cases, more men than women seek assisted dying where it is terminal illness overall and where it is psychiatric or untreatable conditions that most of us wouldn't think were within the scope of this type of bill, but will be. They tend to be more often women, so almost twice as many women will seek this. And so there's a very specific vulnerability that we think women have in seeking suicide by state for psychiatric conditions and otherwise untreatable sort of female conditions. Obviously horrifying and something we want.
Are you against assisted dying, Fiona?
I started this very, very sympathetic to assisted dying for people with terminal illness. And I have to say, having gone through the research, I think our society has very little hope of being able to develop safeguards that protects people who wouldn't want to die being sucked into this. And I think MPs have to really think about, can we prevent a vulnerable woman or a vulnerable person?
But it's going to be so rare, Fiona. The number of times a judge and 2 doctors are going to give permission for this to happen.
Well, shall I tell you what happens in mercy killings?
Coercement. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so in mercy killings, these men are like horrendous overkill, some of our most violent domestic homicides of women. And the judges, not wanting to make a worse job of it, will just say, well, it was an act of love and give them a suspended sentence and they walk free.
But that's
and
murder.
Well, it should be, but it's not in our system.
If you kill someone against their will, that's murder, isn't it?
Well, I agree.
Why would that come under assisted dying?
Because we'll tell you what, assisted dying campaigners have said that these mercy killings show a need for assisted dying. And if these men had access to assisted dying for their families, they wouldn't have been put in this position of having to kill their wives.
Okay.
And two of the men who have this history of domestic violence before they kill their wives have also been championed by assisted dying campaigners. And I think that's the fear. We're not good at recognising domestic abuse. We're not good at identifying it. And I think doctors have almost no hope of being able to do this.
Who paid for the research, Fiona? Do you know?
Do you know something? I work for free.
Oh, really? You've done all this for free, have you? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on.